Eagle 6 in the train.
Roger.
Virpil 1 bombs away. One's going to climb high above 20. You're south.
Eagle 6 radar contact. Eagle 6 is visual.
And it goes left.
Hello and welcome back to the DCS SITREP, the new show on all things DCS World, which is the ultimate combat flight simulator for the home PC. The game is brought to you by Eagle Dynamics and its third-party affiliates. And once again, I'm your host, Prickly Hedgehog. Let's start this week's episode on the sale extravaganza going on right now. It's ED's autumn sale, which I will say is definitely worth a look. A couple of highlights here from the team include 50% off the KA-50 Black Shark 3 and also the AH-64D Apache. They remind us that this is the first time either of the helicopters has actually been so heavily discounted, so well worth looking into that. The Black Shark is a personal favorite of mine, and if you haven't flown the Apache before, either in 2D or even VR in particular, if you are a VR user, well, both of these helicopters really shine in that format, especially the Apache. It's really, really cool. Now, in addition to those great aircraft, there are many more things on sale for 50% off, including the A-10C Tank Killer, which is another of my favorites. But we've also got things like the South Atlantic terrains, Nevada, Persian Gulf, and the Channel map right now. There's 40% off the Tomcat, the Viper, and the Hornet, and 30% off the Kohler map right now and Syria maps as well. So I encourage you to, again, explore the eStore, as there are a myriad of campaigns and other airframes that I haven't mentioned just for brevity. It's a really good time to bundle your savings. So buy, say, for example, an airframe with a map and a campaign that you need to fly on a particular map, and therefore you can boost your savings. So again, good time to pick up some fantastic bargains from ED's eStore. And we're getting close to some maybe holidays here. Good time to do it so you can spend some time flying and maybe not fighting with your family members. Time to move to the F-5 upgrade and other news here, which many of you would have noticed was in the Ascending video quite a lot. It was heavily featured in that video from ED this week, which also showcased the work they're doing on the FOG and looks absolutely amazing, both the aircraft and also the work that they showcased with regards to weather. So we're going to do an analysis of that video at the end here. But let's look at what the team have said about the F-5. So just like in the real world, aircraft in DCS also get the equivalent, I guess, of a midlife upgrade to bring them up to par with developmental processes and game standards that we have right now. And we've seen this already with aircraft like the Black Shark 3 and also the A-10C2, which have gone through a couple of iterations since their inception, which is good news. Now, the community has been braying for some time for a similar treatment for what is a pretty popular module in the F-5. It's seen as a performance jet, but without all the fuss associated with deep learning complex MFD systems seen in aircraft like the Viper and the Hornet, certainly the aforementioned A-10C2. So ED has finally delivered on promises for the last few years to redo that jet and stated the following in the blurb. So existing owners of the DCS F-5E will be able to purchase this beautiful remaster of a classic lightweight tactical fighter for only $9.99, around $10 US. Now, it has in excess of 7,000 man-hours invested. There'll be a lot of people complaining about how much time they've spent on that. Just like they did last week with the FOG. But anyway, they say they're confident you won't miss this great value for money. Now, all owners, therefore, of the DCS F-5E not wishing to upgrade can still enjoy their aircraft as is. It will continue to be supported for the foreseeable future, as this is an optional update. However, on release, the DCS F-5E Remaster, the existing version will no longer be available for purchase. So you won't be able to buy the low fidelity version. Basically, you'll only be able to get the fancy new one, which is not a bad deal. Now, key features of this new F-5E are going to be as follows. Remastered external model based on the latest graphics technologies to create a highly accurate and realistic model. New external animations have also been added. They've remastered the cockpit with greatly improved resolution, glass surfaces, and attention to detail. Addition of a first-person view pilot in the cockpit view, new afterburner effects, those are coming soon, new vortices effects based on the aircraft's angle of attack, that's coming soon, and numerous bug fixes and tunings, such as the damage modeling, sensors, and avionics. So all very good and positive things there, and obviously long overdue. I'm sure many of you will agree. Now, existing functionality is as follows. Remember, it does have a professional flight model that accurately mimics the performance and flight characteristics of this legendary fighter. We've got highly detailed 6 degrees of freedom, or 6 DOF cockpit. Interact with cockpit controls with your mouse, fully modeled weapons and sensor systems, detailed modeling of the F-5E instruments, engine, radios, fuel, electric, and hydraulic systems. Right now it comes with 16 missions and 10 interactive training missions as well, and they are full and quick start manuals. So plenty there to keep you occupied if you want to learn this aircraft in, more detail. Now, both the DCS F-5E Remaster and the existing DCS F-5E will receive many improvements and fixes, including certain corrections to radar operation, weapon adjustments, including new laser-guided bomb loading options. That's really positive. Avionics improvements, mirrors, wing bend and flex animations, high-angle attack, audio buffet, gun smoke behavior, and more, which is not listed, whatever that more is. But either way, stay tuned. Now, I can't say, unfortunately, I've spent a lot of time in the aircraft, despite a lot of support for it as a module from many, many members of the community. It actually is a very popular Cold War stalwart on certain servers. I never really enjoyed the visual representation when compared with other top-tier modules. It just felt a little lacking. It was sort of the full fidelity version, if you like, of some of the Flaming Cliffs aircraft, which are also a little lackluster, but not necessarily because of the look, more just because there's limitations to the use of those aircraft once you've spent time in full fidelity ones, and that's a different topic. So it's going to be interesting to see what this update brings, and we've got some snippets of that in the Ascending video, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Again, whether it provides the goodies needed to bring it up to the very high standards we have for some of our full fidelity modules, particularly from companies like Heatblur with the Phantom 2, I think it will. It certainly looks like it will, and some of the features that I saw in the Ascending video were pretty promising. So again, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, moving on to a brand new campaign. This is the F-16C Last Out, Weasels over Syria 2. So this is by Ground Pounder Sims, and they are saying here, get ready for 13 thrilling and immersive missions in a variety of roles, including Seed, Deed, and Strike, and Escort, that are set during the climactic events of the Operation Cerberus North storyline. You will take on a detailed and dynamic Syrian integrated air defense network and enhanced realism provided by the updated Weasel system that features realistic SAMs and exploitables. Good news there. So they will put you in an area where you're going to operate from RAF Akrotiri, complete with a custom air traffic control system and optional cockpit conversations. Really cool. For a more relaxed experience, the Immortal mode will offer story mode. So cool. Nice, there's some scaling there, which I think is cool. The campaign includes over 3,500 voiced lines and extensive documentation. There really are a lot of campaigns out there right now, and I noted that as part of that, this sounds like an exciting little mission set as a campaign, so check that out if that's something that you're interested in. But I noted too, with regards to campaigns, that Baltic Dragon had said that he had updated his Raven 1 campaign to reflect the new plane directors for the Supercarrier update, which is coming soon apparently. He was actually full of praise from Eagle Dynamics, or for Eagle Dynamics at least, for implementing the update, and he sort of hinted at just how much to improve the immersion, etc., etc. He's also working on updating the second Raven campaign, hopefully in time for the release of the Supercarrier update. We are promised, well, not promised, we were told it was likely going to be in this next update, probably at the end of the month here, which is rapidly approaching. So stay tuned for more information on that. We'll see what we get. Lastly here, and in conjunction with Virpil, ED plugged the Shadow Trophy 2024 Virpil tournament / competition. Qualification for the traditional Shadows Trophy 2024 tournament is now open until the 8th of December. Remember, this is a helicopter event. So this year, as well as helicopter lovers, fighter pilots will also compete for a huge prize fund worth over $8,000. Each champion will also receive one DCS module of their choice from Eagle Dynamics. Additionally, coupon codes for the official Virpil Controls web stores await for those of you who score second and third in ranking. So get your times recorded by flying the race course on the tournament service and mark your calendars for the finals, which take place on the 15th of December, 2024.
Bird dog, strike one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to pass the lead to strike two, and they're going to be, they'll be the dropper, the dropper on this pass. They'll pick up the squad.
10-4.
Don't forget too, we still have November as Dogfighting month, and this is in conjunction with Pimax and also the Grim Reapers and other affiliates. I'll post a link to that promotion going on again in the comment section, or not the comment section, but the description below, as well as my Pimax discount link in that video description if you're contemplating picking up a crystal headset or other Pimax products to boost your DCS experience, which I highly recommend. I'm going to do another video on the Pimax crystal. There's been a lot of questions coming out of some of these events that have been promoted for Pimax, and that's going to be in a separate video. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2 and the Pimax crystal. Interesting, I think that, well, we'll talk about it just very briefly. I know there was a lot of drama with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, so probably a little bit to the benefit of DCS in some ways, when a tier 1 title like that had a botched launch. I think it's not good for Microsoft and Asobo. The issue apparently stemmed from just the overwhelming number of people that were trying to log on and download the game. Remember, a lot of the files are in the cloud, so it requires a degree of access, and it just simply overwhelmed the server systems that they had. They were able to apparently rectify some of that, but I recognize that there's still quite a few users out there that haven't been able to access the game properly or have had troubles accessing the game. Things have probably settled down a little bit. I couldn't get on the first night when it was released. For personal reasons, I took a day off on Wednesday of this week and was able to get into the game. I've spent about 5 hours in it, just kind of playing around, looking at some of the training missions and some of the challenges. Early impressions are positive, aside from the issue with the initial login. I find the visuals are pretty good. I don't think they compare that well necessarily. I don't think it blows me away compared to DCS, especially when we're going to look at this Ascendancy video in just a sec and what they're doing there. So I was actually, I wouldn't say disappointed. It was less salubrious than I was expecting, less fantastic than I anticipated. It was a little bit muddy. That could be a settings issue for me. I was using the crystal light from Pimax with no drama. That worked perfectly without a lot of tweaking. I just simply pressed the VR button and away we went. So there wasn't a lot of injection of settings or tweaks. I did make some minor adjustments, but it was very easy to operate the VR. But there were some issues I found with the control setup. I find very unintuitive. I could not get helicopters to work at all. Just the descriptions of which control surfaces I'm supposed to be using was weird, and it just wasn't a seamless process, and it was very time consuming, and it always is setting up controls, especially for complex aircraft where you have a lot of switches and things like that. But I was able to get the basic control surfaces working, gear, flaps, and actually flaps was a problem too. Really had trouble. You can get an access for the flaps, and then I found it wouldn't work, or it would conflict with other controls, which was really, really annoying. But the big one that pissed me off mostly was the helicopters thing. Immediately the helicopter just took off and just did something else, and I'm like, I swear to God, I have the cyclic and the collective mapped, I think, but it just wasn't working. So I've got to go back in and see if I can figure that out. But I'm frustrated that I'm spending that much time just to get basic control surfaces sorted out. So that meant I really wanted to test out the helicopters, flight controls, and experiences compared to DCS World. So I'm a little bit miffed about that, a little bit annoying. Did have a wonderful time with gliders, actually, flying just down in New Zealand. I actually flew over where my parents live in Stratford and Taranaki, and just wanted to see what it looked like. Again, the graphics were mediocre for a game that's promised, this whole global experience, and we're going to have improved loading times, blah blah blah. Loading times still fairly long, I felt. So lots of things that were good, lots of things that were irritating. Especially when you've been in with a franchise like DCS for a while, you sort of forget, you have these quirks and things that are annoying, but you forget how unintrusive they are when you go to a new franchise and you experience different issues. And it sort of makes you appreciate the older game, if you like. So yeah, definitely some work to be done there, and maybe I'll do a fuller examination of my experiences with Microsoft Flight Simulator in the near future. But let's turn to the topic of this ascending video from Eagle Dynamics, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, radar, did you copy? We're having a lead change. From you want that from strike 1 or 2, 2 will be taking the lead. Strike 2 is with 1. Strike 2, 2.5 minutes out.
All right, well, let's sit with a cup of coffee and analyze this video. It's a great opening shot here, just demonstrating, again, the fog and how it interferes with light. So you get diffusion, basically, in the moisture there. You see the glow now of the afterburner, and you saw those lights. See it here too, a little bit of diffusion here. So again, occluding the background, just making it a lot more realistic. So I think they had that, well done before. And as we talked about, there's much more. Thanks, that's the coffee machine letting me know it's finished. So there's more coffee on the way. But yeah, I really like what we've got going on here from the outset. Great example of just showcasing what they've achieved here. So cool stuff. And I love that. You notice how as it changed angle there, the light did as well. Like it disappeared into the fog. Whoop. Which, okay, we got the cutscene there as well, which didn't help, but get the idea. All right, moving into this scene here. So this is really cool. So we talked last week in the white paper about how the colors now, they had infinite colors available to them based on the way dust and light is going to interfere or react, at least, and interact with the colors. Excuse me. The colors. Gosh, everything's beeping around me, and my voice is failing me too. But the way the colors are going to interact with the environment. So you can see it here in a really nice way. So it's localized, right? So you can see it in the dust here, and this is probably Afghanistan. It could be Iraq. But either way, a mountainscape, sun's rising, we've got dust in the atmosphere, probably low wind on that basis, and the dust is just settling in here, possibly even some moisture from early morning cool, although it could be afternoon as well. So in fairness, but it looks like a morningscape to me. And as you can see, that color doesn't bleed over into these other areas where light is not penetrating so much. This actually probably should even be a little bit darker, and then you can see it over here where we've got that different color dust effect from the sky in the background. I think it's a really neat look, and it's just this massive step for realism, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. If you're critical of ED on this, you're missing the point. I think you're focused on the wrong things, because this is really fantastic work. Sure, you can complain about the other stuff, but I think this kind of effort is really, really impressive. All right, so then we'll bleed over here to another cloudscape here. And again, you can kind of see, we talked about ray marching last week and how this is able to properly help them render clouds in a way that is a lot more realistic. So again, what we're looking at here is sort of opacity on the edges. And where the light is high, we've obviously got dark underneath because the light can't penetrate these deeper clouds, these denser clouds at least. But then on the edges, where the cloud isn't so dense, again, you get this opacity effect, which we'll talk about again in just a second here. A little bit of light bloom here for visual effects as well, cinematic quality, which I like. Not everyone's cup of tea, of course, but again, I think that's cool. Moving on, hopefully to another example. So we've got a winterscape here. Could be Kohler, I think. Hard to tell. Based on the trees, I'm thinking Kohler here. But once again, we've got moisture effect. We get these dark clouds that are, again, occluded from light because of the density. We've got landscape and, again, this sort of light fog mist in the air. Where the ground is really cold, you can get sort of freezing fog. In the valleys, you'll get that radiation fog. So really good example of realism and interaction with the clouds and the diffusion, if you like, of moisture in the lower lying areas of fog and moisture, which I think is really cool. A little shot of the F-18, again, over the top of some clouds in some valleys, possibly in South Atlantic here. F-18 always looking good. So again, what you can see here is another example of light bouncing off the cloud. And it's, again, you get, so moisture can get trapped in if you have a cold ground and you have clouds, you know, warmth gets trapped in here. In Minnesota, this is an interesting effect too. So depending on the time of year, so in January usually we get pretty cold weather, and you often get clear skies, especially during the day. And you would think that this would help warm things up, but when you've got snow on the ground, it sort of reflects the sun, and you get these really cold days. And then when cloud rolls in, it sort of traps some of the moisture and warmth in, and you get potentially more snow. Snow begets more snow often. So again, it can create some really interesting effects with this light glow. And there's another example coming up here too, which we'll look at. Again, it's some more visual effects of light reflecting and so on and so forth on the aircraft. And again, occlusion from distance here, and that melding, if you like, between cloud and dust slash moisture, which I think is really cool, which they talked about in that white paper in detail last week. So here's another example of this. And well, before we begin, of course, the F5, which we talked about earlier. Here we're talking about the mirrors. We've got some more detail on the canopy bow here, just a little bit more detail. Nice looking little sliver there of some of the instruments under lighting. So cool. Lots of steam gauges still on that aircraft. But this is really interesting here. So again, we're talking about cloud density, and where there is dense cloud, because the light now is coming up from the ground, the tops of the clouds are going to be dark. And here we've got dark. I don't know if we have a moon somewhere, but we've got dark under here because the light is being restricted from these clouds. But where there isn't density, like in this little area here, which I hope the mouse is being recorded here, we've got that opacity, and the light is sneaking through here. This is a really great effect. Really clever, really well thought out, really well done. I like it. You can see it again here. So you get much more realism, much more glow from the ground in a night scene. And it makes the clouds almost warm and almost like a living kind of thing. It's really kind of organic, which I really appreciate. So a nice little effect there, Eagle Dynamics. Okay, great looking snow. Definitely something familiar to me here in Minnesota. Looks like some pretty big flakes coming down here as well, which you get that trail effect, which is really cool. Lots of moisture in the air. Really neat effect. Again, more. This probably is, that was probably Normandy or something there, but again, you can see the fog effect. We've got something in the background. I don't know what that structure is. I don't know if it's a chimney or some other landmark. But anyway, you could see again the light being diffused from the moisture in the background, which is very much a part of England and France, depending on the time of year too. So being so close to water, the coastlines I'm referring to more here, but cool stuff. And again, some radiation fog down here in the valleys, which I really like. Very, very impressive. We get a nice light effect too. Makes the trees sort of pop a little bit, which I think is great. Another nice little visual effect. And same thing again here. You can see the light inside the F-18 there, doing some cloud surfing. Okay, cool. Some rain here, and I like that. Watch the radar there. Again, getting some, we'll go back there. a couple of things to point out here. And one thing, so we had that radar light deflecting off it, which was really cool. Nice looking rain. Again, some diffusion here. This looks really good here. Diffusion of light from this light here, up here as well. You can see it in here, which we would expect. A little bit over here as well. One thing that's missing is there's a lack of moisture on the vertical surfaces here that you would expect to see, possibly creating some more reflection, if you like. So, and you can see it here. It looks pretty stale. It makes it look very geometrically flat. There's a lack of texture, I think, is probably what I'm looking for there. So we're not seeing that yet on this structure of the aircraft carrier tower. Maybe that's something that we'll see in the future, but that is a detail that is not quite there yet. But nonetheless, the rain looks really cool, and the light diffusion again is really fantastic, and pulls you in terms of making you believe you're in an environment that's much more organic than a computer game should be able to deliver. Again, some more, dense, low cloud, fog. This looks like this is the F-18. So whizzing, doing a little bit of cloud surfing through the valleys there. More F-18 shots there. Again, just cinematic stuff here. More cloud surfing, a little bit of cloud surfing there. Again, this is probably, I think this is South Atlantic. Again, we're seeing this interaction they're showcasing here between the way in which, I guess, radiation fog is forming in these valleys, and where the low-lying moisture, the cold air is going to sink down and bring that moisture and cling to it, which is kind of cool to see. And of course, that creates some hazards. Excuse me. It's going to create some hazards too if you're trying to land at an airport where there is fog around in a low-lying area, and you're going to have to use caution when approaching, and potentially it's going to be an ILS type landing, or a Cat 3 if it was on the aircraft carrier. Again, this is Marianas there. Now this is great. Excuse me, my voice is cracking a little bit here. Oh, I didn't drink a little bit more coffee here. That's good and strong. So, great example here of the diffusion once more, and on the F5. So, plenty of showcasing work here, and just really nicely done, although it's in motion. Here we have the Hercules, the C-130. We're waiting for this aircraft to come out from Aircraft Simulations Company. They are diligently working on it. We've also got probably South Atlantic here, based on what I'm seeing. It could be Kohler again, but some people have complained that the low-level hills and mountains aren't very realistic, or they lack detail. I think that could be a limitation of the TDK, to be honest, at this point. And I know in the past that's something that we've talked a little bit about. There is some restriction on how much detail you can make the tiles, probably for performance. And I also think, or I believe, it's also for file size. So these, a map like South Atlantic, which is massive, to have extreme detail, 4K detail, right? Say, for just as an argument sake, of mountains and terrains would be a phenomenal amount of disk space for the average user, and not everyone has got that capacity. So there is some compromise, I think, and possibly because of the game engine and how it can cope with that amount of detail, especially once you start putting in objects of high detail, such as high-fidelity aircraft, and a lot of them with assets, and then thinking about things like dynamic campaigns. So, I mean, it works. There's a suspension of disbelief. I think it still works, and I know that certainly at least the South Atlantic team are still working on improving this, and part of that was the winter textures. So stay tuned for more. I don't think this is the final iteration yet. One thing to note too is that this is clearly a shot from inside another Hercules, by the looks of things. We've got the windscreen wiper there. They've hidden from us the cockpit internal, so I'm not seeing any instruments or anything like that. So we'll see. I suspect this could be a 2025 release for the C-130. We'll see what happens. It's clearly a flyable module. How much detail they need to flesh out yet is unknown. So again, we'll wait and see. Moving along here. Again, another shot of the F5. Again, more just examples of how the different types of dust effects, lighting effects influence the environment. And there's an F-18 doing a roll over there. Now this is interesting too. So we've got a time lapse here. This looks really realistic. Watch the rolling clouds up here too. I made a note of that. You see you can get freezing fog here too when you have cold air coming in off water. That can be an interesting effect as well. So, but watch the rolling clouds in this time lapse. It actually looks really realistic. And what I'm saying here too, this is dynamic weather that we're looking at as well. It's not static. You can come back here in 2 hours and we're going to see, 4 hours, 8 hours. You're going to see different weather, which you would expect in the real world. And I'm liking what I'm seeing here. So see how those clouds are rolling there. That's really cool. And see the moisture coming and going there. So that was we'll go back and do that just one more time, just so you can see it. That's really cool. I love that. Yeah, it looks like we've got a wet deck here. I think I noticed that before. Again, it'd be interesting to see if we see some surface moisture on this. I think the supercarrier is looking really good. As I said before, we now have the plane directors ready to be hopefully inserted into the game in the next update. That's coming. So anything that improves this module is looking pretty good in that shot, I must say. It looks great. And you can see again this big bank of weather. We've got clouds rolling and the front's coming in. We've got a front along here. So we probably have 2 different weather systems. We've got warm air colliding with cold air probably, and then we get that front, and that's what creates some of your disturbances there, and you can get some violent weather in here. So, which the team are trying to sail away from by the looks of things. All right, yeah, some shots there. We've got looks like Tomcats in the background, looking nice there against the B-52s, providing some escort. The B-52s are loaded up, but again, a good example here. More particulate in the air there. This is a nice shot. I think this is Sinai. Again, we've got particulate in the air, and you can see the sort of deep red brown glow here. That we've got that dust, probably a mixture of some sort of maybe a waning sun in the background, but and light diffusion. Really cool, neat effect. So here again, we've got some sort of radiation fog, or a lot of it. What you would expect here too, because you'll notice that the sun is coming behind here to the left. If the little valleys here are showing in shadow. So you've got warmth on one side, cooler air probably on the other side here. And of course, again, if you have an airport on this other side here that you're going to land at, you can see the variation in weather and what kinds of challenges that presents to pilots looking to come into land as the Earth heats up with the sun radiating across and gets above. Then it's going to change again. Some of this fog may burn off, again, depending on the time of year, how much strength you have in the sun, how much heat you have in the ground. This is seasonal dependent as well, so all of this creates these interesting effects, which is really cool. I love what they've done here. Nice shot of probably Normandy there. We've got some craters, a little fortification here of some kind. And again, looks like sea fog mist coming in here, which you would expect to see. Looks like in the Spitfire there. Oh, here we go. So more light diffusion here, particularly from the aircraft's main landing lights here. And this is the fulcrum. Not in highest detail, but that's in part probably because of the lack of light and texturing. At this stage, I'm not sure if that is going to be the one we're going to see in game as a full fidelity module. I love this shot. This is, again, showing the interaction of light and color with the dust particulate in the air. It looks like you can just make out maybe some background hills there that are being obscured by that effect, especially with the light being behind. You get that there's enough particulate in the air that it's just washing out or hiding those background objects, which is really cool. Another shot of the fulcrum here. Not in a huge amount of detail there, but nonetheless, and this is a great shot too, sort of an ILS landing here. Lots of moisture in the air, and then cuts away to the F5 here. Some more detail on that, some of the exterior there, and I think right there we get some vortexes coming off the front leading edge there. Looks like we've got some F-15s there coming in probably over one of the Middle East maps. More F5 there. Again, another example of the light bouncing up off the ground here. We've got the moon above. And again, some more interior shots of this new updated F5. Looks really good. Looks like we've got some Kohler there. Once again, same thing, this sort of radiation fog / sea fog here. Warmer air above, although it probably will be fairly cold, but relatively, or possibly even warmer sea, then you definitely get that, that moisture effect. Neat shot of this fulcrum again. Yeah, we got the German symbol there. So remember, this is the one that they were basing their MiG-29A on. So I don't know what the background here is too. I don't know if that's a new map or not. It could be Sinai. Could be parts of Syria too, just a slice of it. But hard to tell without any other landmarks. It could be almost anywhere. It could be a new map for all we know. They talked about was it a German map? I'd heard something about a Balkans map as well. I don't know if that was a accidental release there, but either way, looking at the aircraft too, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we get what I predict would be a Christmas release. That's what I'd suggested to ED. Of course, I have no weight in this in terms of suggestions, but just as an offset to the arrival of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, which didn't get the most, had a bit of an auspicious start. Let's be real. So yeah, this is going to be a very popular aircraft, long overdue, a full fidelity red aircraft of a little bit more of a modern nature. So we'll wait and see. Another great shot there of the Blue Angels, and here's another internal shot here. This is a great, great image. Excuse me. Coffee's getting cold, throat's getting a little sore, so trying to wrap this up here. But yeah, some more detail inside cockpit. Interior looks good. Love this radio cable here as it snakes its way down into the plug-in somewhere. And the hose, great looking detail there. So nice job, ED. And again, more of the same, more fog. Nice shot, nice shot. Great shot there. We've got the vortexes of the aircraft there showcasing. This is a cool shot too. The F-18 doing a low flyby over probably somewhere in Iraq. We've got a little forward operating base of some kind there. Rendezvous point maybe. Another shot there, probably a Persian Gulf. Could be Sinai. Nice way to end the video there. It's a great, that looks like a cut shot, or a very realistic, right? That could be a cinematic shot, which I think is fantastic. This is a great shot of the F-16 doing that barrel roll there. And then look at that. That really blew me away. Let's go back there just a smidge. Look at the glow from the explosions with the dust, how it interacts. So boom, 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 boom. That looks fantastic. Really nice. It's going to make doing some night bomb runs really, really interesting. I'm curious to see dropping maybe, the CCRP over cloud, what that would look like. Be interesting. So more of the same, more of the same. Yeah, nice shot there too. Some deep clouds there. Yeah, great. Yeah, what to say? Like I said before, I think this is a fantastic addition. I think this breakthrough in fog and dust and sort of interactive weather and the dynamic weather, magnificent. I think ED has really done an impressive job. Really looking forward to seeing this in this, hopefully this next update, and getting to experience it for myself, and maybe doing some cinematics, or at least certainly doing some recording of it and testing out different weather effects, different weather patterns, different times of day, and precipitation, moisture, that kind of stuff. Really looking forward to it. I think it's a really impressive introduction of a concept that we've all been waiting for quite a while. And so if it is as good as what it looks in the video here, this is something that you've not seen before. As they said last week, this hasn't been achieved in another flight simulation video game. And yeah, it's almost digital combat weather simulation or something along those lines. Digital cloud simulator, that was a joke a few years ago. But they've done an incredible job. And again, we'll wait and see what it looks like, hopefully in the next week or so. Stay tuned. Well, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. This brings us to the end of another DCS SITREP. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the DCS SITREP.